I remember back when I was 13 years old, there was this one day I was lying flat at the hospital bed, battling for life. I was really sick, my body was dehydrated, and I was having asthma on the other hand. I had serious breathing difficulties at that time. We then later found out that I was directly affected by climate change, as the air pollution index at that time was also of poor quality. So, today, when I was younger, my mother had her own ways of handling me whenever I did something wrong. She'll sit down with me and have a short talk and tell me what I have done wrong and what I can to be doing better. So today, I'm going to personify Mother Nature and give Mother Nature a voice to speak her heart out on the wrongs we have done and what we can to be doing better. So let me have a seat, just to make this a bit personal. Dear children, out of all the environmental issues that I have faced today, I'm going to choose to speak about climate change. If you aren't aware of what I have given you, let me tell you one thing. I love and care for you. I provide you lands for you to use. I provide you rivers and oceans for water. I provide you fresh air for you to breathe. But what have you given to me in return? Climate change is an issue that we need to really care about. Human activities has caused greenhouse gases to be trapped within the atmosphere, causing wide-ranging impacts, including the melting of snow and ice and the rising of sea level between 10 and 20 cm in the past 100 years, according to Intergovernmental Panel of Climate Change. Atmospheric aerosols has altered the climate change by changing the microphysical and chemical properties of the clouds. And moreover, land use changes such as deforestation have changed the amount of sunlight reflected from the ground back to space. Dear children, if you are already aware of this, I should be proud of you. But I'm not. Instead, I am sad, I am furious and disappointed. Disappointed on how humans treat me. Disappointed on how I yell at you, save my forest, save the ocean, yet you don't react. Disappointed on how you know the effects of open burning, yet you do it anyway. Disappointed on how you take your time to do things the right way and say, I'll do it later. Well, the thing is, I don't think I'll be here for later, children. So, we all know about the climate change and the impacts of it. I don't have to speak on the effects of it or how it's happening. I'm not here to raise awareness on it because we all know about it. But the real question is, how do we go about handling it? Why is it so hard to love and care for Mother Nature? Why do we take so much time to react? So, I have been trying to raise awareness on environmental issues ever since I was 8 years old. People definitely understood my speech. People clapped for me. People said they were inspired. But the moment they left the hall, I see no difference in them. No one made changes. No one took the effort to make a difference. This is the sad truth. I remember 2 years ago, I spoke about reducing the usage of plastic bags. We all know that we should say no to plastic bags, right? But the thing is, even my own brother uses plastic bags for his boots and throws them away like nobody's business right after his football game. This is the sad truth. The plastic you use once tortures the oceans forever. The other day, my friend and I, we were having lunch at one of the cafes here in UUM. So he got himself a drink and he went to the counter to get a straw, a plastic straw. So I stopped him from doing so, but do you know what was his response? He turned at me, looked straight into my eyes and told me, hey, you know what? One straw is not going to make any difference. If we keep saying this, if we keep saying what difference is one bottle going to make, what will happen if all 7.5 billion people say the same thing? This is the Great Pacific Patch. Just look at how much waste that is dumped over here. It's a floating landfill, actually. So you see, everyone knows what Mother Nature is facing right now, but to take an action to truly stand against climate change is really difficult. So this time, I want to see impacts. I want you to change your perspectives. I want you to understand and know that every little step that we take counts. I want you to care for the environment. Big or small, doesn't matter. As long as there is effort, it's good enough, and Mother Nature will be really proud of you. So I came up with this concept called the REAL concept, which is to remind ourselves, taking initiative, adapting, and finally making it part of your lifestyle. So to remind ourselves is basically to remember and to tell yourself that we care for the environment. Remind yourself that our future is at stake, and then take the initiative to do something. Initiative is basically the first step of a series of action, and then move on to adapting, because adapting is basically you adjusting yourself to the initiatives you're taking. For instance, you will adjust yourself to the new conditions, and finally make it part of your lifestyle. So before I go to my next point, I'd like to ask you a question. How many of you carpool to come to this event just now? Raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just 4. Okay, another question. How many of you take train when you're traveling somewhere? For example, if you're traveling to Kuala Lumpur. Not even half of the audience here. I knew it. Okay, one thing that we can do is to green our commute, as 24% of climate polluting emissions are caused by transportations. So, you know, I used to drive to class every day, but now that I remind myself that I actually care about the environment, I take the initiative to wake up earlier than usual just to take a bus, and then I try to adapt to this habit, and I finally make it part of my lifestyle. I'm trying my best to make it as a part of my lifestyle. So taking public transportation leads to less money spent on fuel and also less pollution. The next thing we can do is to keep reminding ourselves to shrink our carbon profile. Almost all activities in our daily lives make up carbon footprints. For example, if you're using the electricity or taking flights or even driving the car. So all you gotta do is remind yourself, oh, when I'm not using the water heater at home, take the initiative to switch it off. And then adapt to this habit and finally make it as a lifestyle. So try to adapt to this, because if you are starting to adjust yourself to newer environments, anything is possible. It is as easy as that. Finally, another step that you can do is to speak up. Speak about climate change to your friends and families. Because climate change isn't just happening in Malaysia, but it's happening worldwide. So what you can do is tell your stories about the changes you have experienced because of climate change. Tell your stories that how it has affected you and what you are doing to lessen the impacts. People are more often influenced by friends than by experts. So, yeah. So to be honest, It's not just about telling people about changing light bulbs or switching to hybrid cars. It is much more than that. Massive change is required right now. But for a start, even baby steps to make a difference is already a step in the right direction. So let's please make our actions reflect our words. So we should all be aware of climate change, and we should take proper steps to reduce it. Talk about this to your friends, to your families, because this actually matters. This is a serious matter that we should really care about. So let's stop wrapping our planet with a thick blanket, because if we have the ability to destroy nature, I believe we do have the same ability to bring them back to the original state. So let's keep the royal concept in our mind, which is to remind ourselves, taking initiative, adapting, and finally making it as a part of our lifestyle. So we have all the solutions in our hands. All we gotta do is wake up and take action. Climate change, act now. Thank you.